Hi there, it's Gina Gardner here, and I'm joined, as usual, in our genuine chats by Rachel Davidson, my good friend.
Hello.
Hi there. Both of us are #1 international best-selling authors, and today we want to talk to you about doubt and delusion. Now, it's been an ongoing conversation throughout the week, really, hasn't it? That doubt is one of those states of mind that affect us all at some point or other. And I think even the most successful and strongest of people have periods where they doubt themselves, or they doubt the efficacy of what they're doing, or they doubt other people, they doubt that the universe has their back. One of the problems with doubt is it sort of creeps up on you.
Yep.
It's one of those emotions that sounds very reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about yesterday, you know, the sort of comments it makes to you.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Or really?
Yeah, doubt when it walks in the room looks like a completely sane person.
It does, doesn't it?
It sounds plausible. It sounds, like maybe I should listen to it. But and sometimes, of course, that is valid.
Absolutely true.
You should doubt some things, because delusion is the sort of flip side of this, where if you don't listen to your doubt, then possibly you're delusional.
So before we dive into that, let's look at, where, what's the sort of underlying causation of doubt. And it comes right back to our origins, doesn't it? Where as cavemen and women, or people who in very primitive times, anything that was new, different, was something to be highly suspicious of.
Yes.
Because it threatened your very survival.
Yes.
If it was an animal, it could be a predator. If it was another person, it could be a marauder who's going to take the women, or take your food, or take your land. If it was the weather and not being able to trust the universe.
Yes.
Everything that was different was perceived by our conscious minds as a significant threat.
Yes, so caution is a very natural and useful state to be in, isn't it? So to be cautious of things, to be circumspect, to approach things with eyes wide open and so on. But doubt, that there is some sort of tipping point that goes from having a natural sort of caution and I'll take this slowly, I'll see how it goes. Doubt is sort of, something slightly different, isn't it? Because it is a state that will spiral you down.
And the problem with doubt, with our unconscious minds, who have such power over our thinking, taking over, is in modern times it cannot tell the difference between actual threat and perceived threat. So in early days the threat was to our very survival. These days it's much more likely to be a threat to our sense of self-worth, or a threat to us in the sense that we will be found wanting, or people will laugh at us, or we think we're going to fail.
Yes.
It's not very often these days where, if you look at the number of times that people feel doubt, it's not very often that doubt actually affects our intrinsic survival. It's much more likely to be our pride is going to be hurt, or we're going to be left feeling that we have not lived up to ours or other people's expectations.
One of the saddest things that a person ever said to me once was she was talking about her aunt, and how her aunt had loved to play the violin and was capable of being symphony, world-class level. But she'd given it up, and her aunt had told her she'd given it up because, and I quote, "It is better to have your dreams than to attempt them and fail and have the potential of failure." So she would rather sit and think, oh, I could have been a symphony violinist, rather than attempt it and realise that maybe her talent didn't stretch that far. And I thought that was one of the saddest things. And that totally is doubt in action.
Absolutely. And I would say that's a dramatic example. But actually, many people live with an example that may not be as clear-cut, world's class symphony orchestra player or anything else, because you don't want to try. But that in microcosm is what many people are facing day by day by day.
Yeah, I mean, I live it every time I sit down to write something.
Yeah.
There is the little voice, the sane voice, depending on how I'm, how strong I'm feeling in terms of coping with doubt, which says, "Really, you're gonna sit down and write a story, are you? Really?"
And yet the evidence is that you've done it. You've written 2 books.
Yeah, I have. So I think anybody who says, "Oh, they never doubt," is delusional.
Which brings us on to the, if you like, the other end of the spectrum, where we talk about people having delusions of grandeur when they're strutting about and they think that they are, I was about to say, I think they're God's gift, but actually we're all God's gift, aren't we? But they think they're a cut above everybody else.
I think it's best in modern times encapsulated by the X Factor auditions.
Yes.
Where, I mean, I know it's Teleland and I know it's heightened and this, that and the other, but they definitely pull on the delusional ones for our entertainment, because we sit there and think,
well, the ones who say, "I'm going to win, I am wonderful," and they stand up on the stage and you think, what?
My mum and dad say I've got a great voice. And Simon Cowell is sat there, with his face doing the pantomime act that it is. And we're all sort of sitting around going, this person is delusional. How can they think that they have this? How? So,
but isn't it interesting that the people who come on who are humble, who doubt their ability, we warm to them.
Yes, but of course the point is they may have doubts about their ability, but they are on the stage doing it.
They've still taken action.
The ones that have doubted their ability and haven't turned up,
we would never know.
We don't know about.
And they will never have any chance of succeeding. And in a sense, that really captures the very spirit of what we're talking about.
Yeah, because both of them end up with the individuals not being happy.
Yes.
The people who are delusional turning up in front of Simon Cowell and singing off key and whatnot, and protesting that they are the best singer, get sent away with a flea in their ear. And although they may on the front of it putting on a good fight for the cameras, Simon's wrong, I'm going to be there. You wait, I'll be famous and all this. They wander away knowing that they've just enacted a point of insanity on national telly.
But do they know? At
some point and at some level, I believe that they do know. It's just how long they actually come around to recognising it.
And it's how big the delusion is.
How deep are you in your delusion? Yeah, but being blindly optimistic about your skills or your hopes and your dreams or whatever, I mean, it's not wrong, but it doesn't lead to a sense of happiness and contentment.
I think ultimately that if you doubt yourself and you limit your opportunities, there is a part of your soul which is sad, if you like, that feels it's unfulfilled. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you're so delusional that you believe that everything is going to be in a particular way, I think equally your soul life, your soul purpose is unfulfilled too, because you're not learning the lesson that an opportunity to recognise that your ego is really playing out here isn't learned, and so it gets bigger and bigger.
And they're both traps. I mean, I think Satan is supposed to whisper in your ear, "You can't do that. You're ridiculous. What's the point? Don't bother to do that." He's doubt incarnate. And I'm going to mangle the other fallen angel's name. It's not Mephistopheles, it's somebody else who's the trickster, who's whispering in your ear, "You can do that. You're the best ever. Go on, make that jump, do it, make that leap." And both of them are, fallen angels and trying to trick you in that way. And one is delusional and one is doubt. And I think the point of doubt and delusion is to listen to them, especially doubt, I think, because I have more doubts than I have delusions.
Oh, you think so?
Say
that's a delusion, yes.
And that's the other point about delusion. or doubt is that somebody's delusion may actually be somebody else's dream. I mean, you know,
it's a really interesting dilemma, really. So let's look at some practical examples. I often use the example of Dyson.
Yes.
Recently, he gave £18 million to his old school to set up a science project, science building. That'd be quite a project, wouldn't it? 18 million. Yeah. But to create a working Hoover vacuum cleaner, he had 1,999 prototypes before he had a working machine. Now, that's what you read on Wikipedia, so it may not have been that.
Yes.
However, I wonder, the people listening, how many prototypes would you have created? Because there are some who would have created none, because they'll never get going, they procrastinate because they don't doubt their capacity to achieve.
Yeah.
But would they have stopped at 32?
Well, I'd like to bet that his wife definitely called him delusional at some point, especially when he nearly bankrupted them over.
Absolutely.
Over
but he had faith. Was that a delusion?
Yeah.
It proved not to be.
I hope his wife had faith too, actually. I hope she didn't call him delusional.
Others
would have done.
But I wonder how many people stop before they succeed. Yeah. And I have to say, in terms of doubt, you know, there's this whole machinery for, if you like, for Genuinely You and my big mission. There are times when I doubt, not that it's a right thing to do, but doubt the capacity to get it out there and to get people to listen when everything's so noisy on the internet and so crowded. When I have an absolute faith that what I'm offering people will make a difference because it's made a difference to so many other people. Is that delusional? Is my doubt on those, you know, those dark nights of the soul, is that doubt justified? Particularly when, you know, I'm spending my time, my energy, my money. It's taken, you know, a huge chunk of my life, big investment at every level. And then there are times when I think, well, am I being delusional? But ultimately, that sense of faith, which is the opposite of doubt, isn't it?
Yes.
That sense of faith that there are so many people out there who, with a little bit of help, could live a more satisfying, happy life because they'd be happier, have a better relationship with themselves, have self-confidence to actually to test out some of the things that we've talked about and to find that they were. So delusion. I think delusion is very often operated by ego.
Yes, agreed.
And the ego is given the power to take things beyond the point where they are right. Now,
beyond the point of balance.
Yes. And so, you know, the universe is in balance, nature is in balance, and when we are happy and fulfilled, so are we. And I think one of the things for all of us to recognise is that we all have the potential for good and we all have the potential for evil. We all have the potential to succeed and we have the potential to fail. For me, what comes out of all of that is it's an opportunity to learn. Learn about ourselves, learn about the world, learn about how we can make a contribution and a positive difference. That's where the balance comes.
Yes.
But another question then. We've talked about doubt being slippery. You know, it sneaks in. It looks reasonable. It sounds plausible. And it often comes, certainly for me, at night. During the day, there's lots going on, and then as I go to sleep, that little voice says, "What are you up to? What are you doing this for? What do you think? What are you thinking?" And that voice, unless you deal with it, really gathers pace and power, doesn't it? And so one of the things that I would say to people who are watching this if that's something that you find an issue for you, we've both got slightly different ways of dealing with it, haven't we? And I think actually probably the strongest is the combination.
Yeah.
So mine is to look for the evidence in the first instance. So, am I a survivor? Have I managed something like this before? I was talking to somebody yesterday and they were talking about their doubt in a professional sense.
Yeah.
Now, it happens I've known them for several years and I know that they are incredibly good at what they do.
Mm.
They've got a relatively new boss who is in a power struggle with their boss, and there's a lot of collateral damage going on. And I think that's quite common these days with the leadership that's going on. So I asked her to think about the people that she has delivered to, her clients, if you like, and asked what have they been saying over the last 20 years since she started working. And universally, the feedback from them has been great. Would you like a job? Thank you very much. Didn't expect such good service.
Yeah.
And I asked which of the voices, the voice of the collective from her customers, if you like, or two people who are actually having an ego battle and who are trying to make themselves look more powerful and look good.
Yeah.
Which was the voice she was going to listen to.
Yeah. Well, when you put it like that, it's obvious.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the body language is, it's obvious that I need to listen to those.
Yeah.
And yet the body language was, but at the same time, these are the people that my inner self have been listening to.
Yeah.
And they've been eroding my sense of self-worth. And I think that's the real danger of doubt.
Yeah.
Is it erodes one's sense of self-doubt.
Yes.
So for me, it's actually recognizing that we have given the power to an external force in that situation to determine how we are feeling, rather than deciding for ourselves based on the evidence that we have.
Yeah.
Share with our viewers your view, your approach.
Well, I like to invite these emotions in and say, because I think there's a great temptation to try to push away things that feel negative, the voices that have been...
Trouble with that, they come back stronger, don't they?
Yeah, so I mean, Liz Gilbert talks about this, in particular about fear and how if you try to push fear out the way, it just comes back bigger and stronger. And
certainly does.
There's a book, I think, called The Dragon Just Wants to Be Seen or something. It's the same thing, So when I get doubtful, I say, okay, just come and whisper what you've got to say to me then, please. Come and let's just get it out. Yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, other people are much better than me. Yeah, that author's brilliant. Oh, you're never going to be there. Okay, all of these things. Come on then, say them to me. And then having sort of listened to it, I then attempt to look it in the eye and do a bit of an assessment on, well, how right is that? And there's a bit of me that says this is a valuable exercise to do, because if I just try to push it away, then possibly I am being delusional. Yeah. Possibly I am just forging ahead without any real thought about why, how, when, really. So come on then, come and sit down and talk to me. But you're not actually going to be in charge. And that's my view. You're not really, unless you say something that is absolutely going to hit my truth point and makes me go, oh yeah, no, good point. Everything that you've got to say is valid but limited. The same on the delusional side. The same, I just try to be balanced about it. And then I go inside and I ask myself, how do I feel about it really? There's all this fear and all this potential sort of social pariah or whatever, But really, I thought about it yesterday when I was pushing a blog out into the world, and I deliberately sort of chose quite a controversial headline, and the little doubt said, really? Because that's quite controversial, isn't it? And you might get somebody commenting about that. And I thought to myself, okay, I've heard it, I've heard the voice, but what's the worst that can happen? So I did the analysis, really, and actually, if they have if I trigger a viewpoint in somebody where they feel the need to be that strong in their response, and that in itself is interesting.
I can say, is that a bad thing?
It's not necessarily a bad thing. I can react how I can react in the moment when it happens, but the likelihood is it won't happen. So I pushed it out into the world and forgot about it. And that is how I approach my doubt and avoid delusion, by bringing it in, having the discussion, assessing it, and just trying to listen to, I don't know what it is in me or my soul or whatever. I definitely have a truth point, which I sort of always point to this section here, because I can literally feel the energy moving. And if it bangs on my truth point, it usually brings tears or some high sense of and if I get that kind of acknowledgement, then I follow that, because that is the much more compelling truth. Yeah.
And that brings us on to, I think, to a really interesting point, that listening to your intuition, and I think for many people, they don't give themselves the space to listen to that.
Yeah.
They listen to what effectively is a false voice, the delusional voice, saying, you're brilliant, you're wonderful, you're those things, which of course at one level you are.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think if you're quiet, if you sit with yourself, it is around, where is this on the continuum between doubt and delusion?
Yeah.
But of course it's tricky. So let's go back to the X factor thing. It's very evident when somebody is saying, yes, I'm going to be the best in the world, and they come onto the stage and they scream, or they make whale noises, or it's great entertainment, but actually in terms of their capacity to sing and entertain, it's going to have a very limited audience.
Yes.
And yet there are those people who come on, who the judges say no, who come back a year or 2 years later, who have accepted that there is more to do, who have gone and who have worked and have come back, and then they make it, and some have made it to the final. And I think that there is a healthy element to doubt if you take positive action, and it acts as a motivator rather than a destructive force in terms of your capacity to believe that you can get there. And that's a fine line, isn't it?
Yes, but every single emotion we have, every feeling we have, there is a reason why it is in the mix.
Absolutely.
And my belief is you need to listen to all of them.
I'm
not suggesting that you stay talking to them forever and never have a conversation with the other range of emotions and feelings that you have. But in the trying to numb or deny or silence one, you cannot then bring, because they're all sort of connected. They're like a rainbow. You can't take a colour out of the rainbow. It has to exist with the others. And so by acknowledging that, yes, there is some message in this feeling of doubt, there's a lesson. Indicator.
There is a lesson to be learned.
Yes.
It's interesting you use the rainbow analogy, because if the world was all blue or all mauve, it would be a very different world. And I think there are many people who stay stuck in a particular emotion, whether that's a negative or a positive emotion. And I think for most of us, well, for all of us, the capacity to acknowledge and welcome those emotions, because they are an opportunity for you to learn something about yourself, about others, about the world. But I think, we're drawing things to an end. One of the things that I would say is that if you are someone who doubts yourself, that's something to deal with. But if you're someone who's been hurt and you consistently doubt other people, you're going to take a whole set of decisions that will lead to a very different life than if you actually trust people in the first instance, within sensible parameters, and you allow them the benefit of the doubt initially. But if you've got a good relationship with yourself, you don't allow them to abuse you in any way. But it is about being open to people being good-hearted
Yes.
until proven otherwise.
Yes.
I'm not talking about if somebody comes and tries to sell you an investment that you trust them without due diligence.
No.
I'm not suggesting that you leap into a relationship with someone from first.
No, because that would be delusional.
Absolutely, expect to this
Potentially.
balance. Yes, but ultimately, it's about having faith that when you listen to that inner core, that inner you, that truth point, your intuition, and you look at the evidence and you faced those emotions, that you will find a route through the challenging pathway that life offers. Now, if you want some more help, within the Genuinely You website, you'll find lots and lots of help. There are now nearly 100 genuine chats on all sorts of themes. You'll find articles, there's a TV show. You can get a digital download of my latest #1 international best-selling book, Thriving Not Surviving, the 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success and Fulfillment. You'll find all our books on Amazon and on the website. So The Point of Me, and the new book which is going to be published very soon, which is
The Truth of Her.
The Truth of Her. They're going to be both on the website and on Amazon, so do please go and have a look. Audio forms available too, but I'll leave you with a call to action. I've created a 7-day happiness challenge because happiness is something that many people aspire to, but make it incredibly difficult to achieve. So take the happiness challenge, and you'll find the link in the comment box below, or you'll find the link on the website, which is genuinely-you.com. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.